I gave OpenTTD 500 AI companies. No human players, no rules, just natural chaos, and I waited to see how long the world would survive. Hello there, Master Hellish here, and welcome to a simulation that is on a brand new level. This full-scale AI stress test has every company running at once, battling for space, money, and my CPU power. The script crashes started early, vehicles flooded the map, the simulation speed tanked, and this was just in the first few years. I tracked everything. My RAM, the crashes, profit, and the network insanity to find out what breaks when you put this much into OpenTTD. This wouldn't even be possible without a special version of OpenTTD brought to us by the Spiffing Brit, so thank you Spiff for making this chaos achievable. The tracking in the game, that's handled by a custom script that I wrote myself. That's right, I'm doing OpenTTD modding now. So hit subscribe if you want to see more mods, challenges, simulations and tutorials. There's plenty more coming. Alright, let's get the simulation started. Now normally when you unpause OpenTTD, it starts near instantaneously, but with 500 AI starting up at the same time, I've got a funny feeling we might have a little bit of lag. Let's find out. Oh my goodness, that was quite a few seconds of lag, and now we're getting the errors. Every single one of these squares on here, this is an AI company. There's 500 of them there, and you can see all of the red boxes that are showing up. These are ones that have had some errors. Looks like most of them are the no-cab version. Snake AI also here. It's getting some sort of script error with an index length. There goes another one. It's the MP AI. Not sure what happened to that one. We can see here it was looking at building two airports, but then wasn't able to. Probably because another AI got in the way, and this particular one is saying it failed to get the first route going, and it's giving up. So we're a matter of seconds into this particular game, and already we have a few AIs out of the running. And if we have a look at the map of the world, we come up against another problem of having too many AIs in the game. I'm no longer able to get to the bottom of the map to look at the various different options. I'm going to have to try and resize this somehow on a different screen and then change it to the setting I want. Okay, by dragging the OpenTTD window between two monitors, I was able to adjust it and get to this view. This is the view we want to be able to see the different companies, and there's quite a few companies at this town here. Oh yes, oh my goodness, that is a lot of depots. There's also a whole bunch of HQs here, and a load of services. Okay, so many road vehicles doing a little route there. They're probably going to get in the way of each other. Oh, we're going to have so many road traffic problems in this game, aren't we? And already a couple of airports. That's probably the first two airports. Is that the same company? Let's have a look. No, two different companies got in there. That's one of the things you have to remember. Whilst we have 500 companies, we are limited to 16 colours. So the green airports are actually two different companies. The transport company launch notifications are still coming in, and I think it's going to be quite some time until they actually stop. I have no idea how many of them popped up, but they just, yeah, there's another one. They just keep coming over and over again. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these have gone bankrupt by the time that the notifications have finished. So the game script is running in the background, and if we look in the debug, we can see here that it tells us the year and it tells us the number of crashes and bankruptcies. This will keep a record every time we go into a new year. We have track being built across the world. I wonder how much of the world is going to get covered up in railways and infrastructure as the game goes on, and I wonder how big the cities are going to grow. Let's have a look at the world population. Right, okay, so we're just under 800,000 in world population. Put your guess down in the comments of what you think the world population is going to be. We'll run this simulation for 50 years because I think by then the computer will have fallen to pieces. So how much do you think it's going to be in 50 years time? And if we follow this railway track back, yep, oh, we've got a station at a steel mill. Of course, we've got a bit of a wonky entrance because the AIs do that sort of thing. Oh, and here we have two AIs doing exactly the same thing at nearly exactly the same time. This one is AI 436 and this one is AI 298. And they're building a single track from their stations with a switch, and yeah, there's another one where they're going to, yeah, to a steel mill over here. Iron ore, is it? Yep, iron ore. It's interesting to see how they've both tried to do exactly the same thing, and so far are succeeding in that. With so many companies diving into the same cities, I wonder how many of them are going to end up bankrupt, treading on each other's toes. Well, that's something we are going to keep track of, and of course, I will do a graph at the end so we can see exactly how that trended over the course of the simulation. Taking a look at the operating profit, we can see there's two categories. Ones that have made money and ones that haven't yet. Hopefully some of these do. At the moment, I'm only seeing about 6 or 7 companies that have made any money out of the 500. It would be nice if not all of the companies went bankrupt. Now, I haven't chosen the biggest possible map for this simulation. That would take it too long and there'd probably be too much space. You wouldn't really get the interaction between the companies. And I think I've got a good middle ground here. And you can see that some of the larger cities are already getting surrounded by a good number of companies. Look at all of these HQs. I don't think I've seen so many HQs in one place before. A quick count of all of the HQ there. I think there's about 21 of them. Already more than what you would get in a normal game of OpenTTD, and this is just one city. As all of the AIs slowly make their way through the world with their infrastructure, let's give them a few years and find out how they get on. The year is now 1955, and our AI companies have had enough time to get themselves settled in. But not all of them have managed this. We've had some bankruptcies. 9 of the companies have already gone bankrupt. There's still a lot of companies in the game because after each one goes bankrupt, it gets filled in by a new AI. So having a look at the operating profit, we can see that more and more of the AIs have managed to pull themselves out of that negative profit bracket. However, there are definitely a good number of them still beneath that line. I think we're looking at some more bankruptcies coming up sometime soon. I wonder if a lot of these companies will diverge and we'll end up with some groups, ones that are doing super well and others that are just doing okay. Only time will tell on that though. Now, whilst I'm recording, the game is running at 1x speed, but in between I'm fast forwarding. When I started the game and unpaused it, the game was running at 8.8x speed. Not very fast at all compared to how fast my computer can run OpenTTD. I've managed to get it up to 16,000 times speed before, but that's never going to happen with 500 AIs. Now, 5 years later, we're already down to 6.2 times speed. I wonder what the graph of this one's going to look like, and yes, I'm going to graph the game speed for you as well. Even though the world's quite big, we've got 500 AI, which means they're going to be overlapping, and here we've already got a train line and a road overlapping. In addition to that, we've already got some aircraft flying around. Trains, road vehicles and aircraft are going to cause crashes, and we have had a few already. In the 5 years that we've been running, there has been 5 crashes, 1 per year. Not too bad, but with the increasing number of vehicles and the more infrastructure being built, I've got a feeling we're going to end up with a lot more crashes. Currently, the total is 2,759 road vehicles on the map. Do you want to have a guess at how many there's going to be by the year 2000? Every now and then, we're still getting another script crashing. Whether it's one that is trying to still build its first route after 5 years, or whether it's come up against some other error, maybe some sort of index or version error, they are still crashing here and there. Hopefully this will slow down throughout the game and we'll still have a good number of AI playing. And the ones that are playing are doing some pretty interesting tracks. Here we've got a station that goes into a junction. That junction has a bottleneck that goes out into a multi-track line. I'm not sure what the AI was trying to build here, and there's no restrictions around it. It's like not going to crash into any sort of other obstacle. It had the space, but it still did this really weird junction. Sometimes the AIs can be a little inconsistent. Here we've got a very nice depot, and if we go down the line, there's another very nice depot. But if you try... Oh, there you go. There's another script crashing. And you can see that these blank ones here, these grey ones, they're the companies that have gone bankrupt but haven't been replaced just yet. Right, back to the depots. So there's a depot, yeah? And there's another depot. Why it failed to connect that depot, I'm not quite sure. But never mind, eh? I just noticed as well, an AI is doing some wiggly roads here. Don't do this, it slows your vehicles down. That's a lot of truck stops all in one area. I mean, I know there's 500 AIs, but there's a lot of coal mines on the map, I think. Though unfortunately, I'm unable to see how many coal mines there are on the map because the world map doesn't fit on my screen and the statistics are off the edge. Now, it seems that some of the AIs do think ships are a good idea. I'm not entirely on board with that, but, you know, if they want to give it a go, they can give it a go. I've obviously found a very popular location. We've got a coal mine here that's not only been serviced by trucks. Oh, another one's gone bankrupt. That makes 10. That's 10 companies now gone bankrupt. I wonder how many it's going to be by the end. I mean, obviously I'm tracking them, so we'll know, but 10 already by the year 1955. It might steady down, or it might just go crazy. So yes, we've got a number of truck stations servicing this particular coal mine, but also a load of train stations. Oh, look at this! What on earth is this railway line? Yeah, I think that is probably the worst railway line attempt I have ever seen by any AI ever. It goes forward a few squares and back into itself. No wonder this train is completely lost. Hopefully some of these other tracks will do better than that, but they seem to be all trying to go to the same power station, so competition is very fierce. Something I noticed a bit strange on the world map, and it might be hard for you to see, so I'm going to try and remind myself to zoom in here. But if we look at some of these roads, okay, if you look at them in the overworld, they just look like normal roads, and that's fair enough. If you look at the owner's map, you can see that they are actually owned by different companies. A number of different companies made these same roads. And the only thing I can think of is that the AI was trying to build exactly the same road in exactly the same place at exactly the same time and actually ended up helping each other. And it's not just here, there's some at other places of the map too. So obviously some of the AIs that are the same have decided to do exactly the same thing and are actually accidentally collaborating. Now, even though there's 500 AIs running on this map, there aren't 500 AIs for me to choose from. There's a pool of around 60, so we do have some duplicates. And we have a new transport company launch. Now, at the moment, I have no idea if that's a message that's left over from previously at the beginning of the game, or whether it's actually a new one from one of the ones that have gone bankrupt. These messages popping up at the bottom of the screen seem to be severely delayed at this point with everything that's going on. So some of the AI companies seem to be doing quite well, and others, well, they seem to be really, really struggling to actually get anything done at all. It's a big mixed bag. I think we need to give them a few more years and see how they're getting along. Maybe another 5. Jumping forward to the year 1960, and the number of vehicles in the game has almost doubled. We're now up to 5,277. Now, I thought the number of crashes would probably have doubled up to about 10, but it seems that that number is going up even more. We're now up to 36 collisions and crashes in the game. It seems like the number of crashes might be escalating quite rapidly, but what also escalated was the number of bankruptcies. Not massively, it didn't go shooting up through the roof, but we have approximately doubled from what we were before. We're up to 18 bankruptcies in the game now. That's quite a few companies, in fact more companies than you would normally have in a normal game of OpenTTD. Now, something that is going slow, as well as the ships in the game, is the game speed. We started at over 8 times speed, dropped to around 6, but now we're at 3.7 times normal speed. This is going to mean that the simulation is going to take longer and longer to process each year, and I've only got a few days to record this entire simulation, so fingers crossed we'll actually hit the 50-year mark, as targeted. Now, as we look at some ridiculous railway lines, there's something I haven't yet mentioned. I'm tracking the amount of RAM that OpenTTD uses. Now, normally this is not something you have a look at because it doesn't use much, and it's not normally a problem for most modern machines. However, at the beginning of the game, my computer was using around 1 gig of RAM once the game started running. However, at this point, I'm already using over 3 gig of RAM. It's tripled in just 10 years. Now, if this keeps going, we might not be able to go all the way. I might have to reset and load the game to try and flush out some of the memory that's being used. If we look at the game's frame rate information, you can see that a lot of these AIs are using megabytes of RAM. Not much, but once you get 500 of them together, they are definitely accumulating some quite big allocations. Looking at the operating profits, it does seem like we're starting to see more and more of these AI companies getting above that zero line. I think we might be starting to see the end of the surge of bankruptcies that happened towards the beginning of the game. And whilst the world looks like it's getting pretty filled up, there are spaces all over the place. So in theory, there's a good amount of space for companies still to grow. And if we use our X-ray vision to peer into the busy towns, yep, they are starting to clog up a little bit. Vehicle breakdowns causing small little traffic jams, but nothing too crazy just yet. We might have to wait to see if there's going to be some horrendous queues. I don't know, it's quite a big map, but then again, there are a lot of AI. Are we going to end up with just a map full of traffic that's completely clogged up? Oh, and how many more collisions are we going to have? Yeah, oh god, that is going to be quite bad. Loads of road vehicles going over level crossings, trains annihilating them. Yeah, I think we're going to have quite a few more crashes. Now let's see, we've had 36 so far. Let's see how many crashes we're going to have by another 5 years. Welcome to 1965, where the biggest town is now over 11,000 in population, and the world population is up to 1.4 million. You can see that in this town there are quite a few road vehicles. There are also airports, and there's quite a few of them because what the AI is doing is placing airports on the outskirts of one town, which actually counts in the influence of the other town, getting around the 2 airport limit. And with another crash popping up on the screen, I can tell you there have now been 113 vehicle crashes in this game already. I've got a funny feeling we might even break 1,000 crashes before this simulation is finished, but I'm not sure, we'll have to see. There are now 7,545 road vehicles between the 500 companies, and when I'm fast forwarding, the game speeds down to 2.8 normal speed. And also we are starting to see even more weird junctions. This is something I don't think I've ever seen the AI done before. I don't know if it's just one I haven't looked at in the past. AI 439, whichever that one is, or whether it's just doing it out of weird necessity. Look at these, we've got crossings on the roads with nothing connected to it as well. Oh, we're starting to see a lot of spaghetti now. Companies using bridges to get over other companies, round and under and through. This is just going to get more and more common across the world. And looking at the world, it is getting quite busy. Still some gaps, but very busy nonetheless. And some of these towns are getting a little bit ridiculous. Here we've got a cluster of a few towns all together, all with loads of vehicles going in and out, and it looks like we're starting to see the beginnings of some tailbacks. Let's have a closer look here. Right, so nearly end-to-end vehicles. It just takes one to break down for them all to start to clog up. Yeah, one over here as well. Now this area's got a few different ways that the vehicles can go if they get stuck, but I've got a feeling, yeah, we're almost certainly going to end up with some very big vehicle queues. Checking out the operating profit, it seems like we're starting to get 3 different groups forming. The really high performers at the top, a mid-range, and everybody else down at the bottom. Adding a key to this graph is almost completely pointless because there's so many companies with exactly the same colour. You have to go through the list and tick them off one by one just to figure out which one might be at the top. Let's try and find this green company, for example. It's sitting above the 388,000 mark. So I'm going to turn off all the companies and we'll try and find it. Nope, it's not that one. Oh, maybe it is actually. Did I just find it straight away? Yes, I did. That was ridiculous. What are the odds of me just finding the first green company? I was trying to show you, the viewer, that this is going to be difficult to figure out which company is which, and there it was straight away. There would be approximately just over 30 companies all with the same colour. So yeah, you could say it's about 30 to 1 chance that we'd pick the right one there. Oh, another script crashed. Yeah, they keep crashing. Some of them refresh, some of them don't. And of course, we've got more planes crashing. Lots of different sorts of crashing all happening at the same time. Let's see if we can push another 5 years out of this simulation without my computer crashing. We're now halfway through the simulation and things are still ramping up. And we still have a load of ridiculous railway lines and routes to have a look at, this just being one of them. The number of vehicles in the game is really ramping up, and while some of them are nicely going under and over each other, other ones are not being so nice, causing even more accidents. We now have over 10,000 vehicles in the game, and the number of crashes has gone past 300, close to 376. Now, one of the things that was surprising to me at this point is the number of bankruptcies seems to have stopped. For the last few years, it's been steady at 19. I think we can conclude then that all of the ones that have made a start and made some money have now got themselves in a position where they're not going to fall apart. It's going to take some sort of change or global thing to happen for more companies to start going bankrupt. Being able to get the game to run at 1x speed is not really a problem, but when I'm fast forwarding, we're now down to 1.7x speed. I've noticed over the last few years the rate of this dropping has slowed down. I wonder if it'll keep dropping or whether it will form some sort of equilibrium where the game speed just comes to a certain point and doesn't get any slower. We'll have to wait to find out, but what is still going up is the amount of RAM this is using. We're now up to 5 gigabytes of RAM for just this one particular game. Something else that slowed down is the amount of scripts crashing. It seems similar to the way that we get bankruptcies. The ones that managed to make a start and the ones that did get past the first few years are actually running okay, and the scripts that had problems before, yeah, look, that's where we were looking not long ago, where I said that there was going to be potential more crashes and that there was crossing over, and there was just actually a collision right there. But back to what I was saying about these scripts. Yes, it seems the ones that were going to crash or was going to crash at some point have now crashed. I don't think we're really going to get many more crashing. Oh wait, there's another one. Maybe I should just not talk. The world map's looking pretty cool as well. Lots of different things going on. We can see some areas where there's not a lot going along, other areas with lots of rail infrastructure, and then there's areas with lots of ship infrastructure. They seem to be centered around a few key areas. It seems that the AI really only wants to do passengers and mail via shipping. And that's not because that's only what's available. There are oil rigs all over the map, it's just the AIs are just generally choosing to ignore them. The amount of road vehicles on the network is increasing, and there are some delays in places, but it's not too bad. They seem to be compensating by building lots and lots of extra little roads, allowing vehicles to spread out and not get in each other's way too much. As you can see, at the halfway mark, a lot of the towns have grown quite considerably. There's a lot of land around the towns as well, so there's still good chances for more rail and other infrastructure to be added to make more profit. And the amount of people in those towns has obviously gone up too. The world population is now gone past 3 million. I thought it'd be nice to revisit one of the things we've already had a look at. This train down here is still going backwards and forwards on the same little bit, completely lost. It's making -2,000 every year, and that train is now 4 years old, so it's not doing very well for that company at all. Also, some of these lines did actually manage to get connected up and does seem to actually have routes coming in and out of it, although there are at least 2 that never got connected. Down at the power station, it's a similar story. Some of them managed to get connected, some of them didn't. Now, while some companies are using steam trains and big wooden bridges, other ones have moved on to more sophisticated networks. Here we've got electric trains going up and down electric tracks over nice modern bridges. Now, I'm currently not sure whether I should try doing this or not, but hey ho, let's give it a go. I'm going to turn on the cargo flow legend. Firstly, I'm going to turn it on for all cargoes, and then I'm going to click the all companies button. Okay, that wasn't too much lag, and we can see that in this area we've got quite a lot of lines, each representing every single journey that's being done between every single set of stations. You're never going to get a station with too many passengers at it if you've got 75 other companies right around you trying to do exactly the same thing. Let's zoom out and see if things still work okay. Okay, I'm on maximum zoom now, and yes, the frame rate has completely dropped, and it is very difficult to see everything that's going on. If I come over here and just wait a second, yep, the new lines start processing. On this map, with this many AIs, all it is a frame rate generator. I'm going to try and turn it off. The mouse cursor won't move very well. Now to there we go. Right, what's next? And what's next is 1980. We're now at 13,000 road vehicles in the game, and we've passed the 500 vehicle crashes mark. And again, no more bankruptcies just yet. It still seems that those companies that managed to make it through those first few years are doing okay. However, I've just noticed a big plummet in the leaders on the operating profit. This usually denotes some sort of change in the world. Something's happened which has caused them to make a change or is affecting their economy. Now, if it's doing that for those top leaders, I'm wondering what's going to happen to some of the others over the next few years. We might get more bankruptcies coming in. And you can say that if one AI is affected by something, others are too. Here you can see a good example where 3 AIs have tried to build the same road right next to each other. And here's another example again of AIs doing exactly the same sort of tricks. So if something's going to negatively affect one company, it's probably going to negatively affect several companies. As the amount of vehicles go up in the game speed is still going down, and the amount of RAM is still going up. The game is now running at 1.5 times speed, still not dropping in massive increments, but still getting slower and slower. And the RAM? That's at 5.5 gigabytes now. I'm wondering how much longer this simulation is going to run before I'm going to have some sort of big problem. It's interesting that the pathfinding for the vehicles don't take into account safety. Here, there are 2 different ways the vehicles could go. One goes over a level crossing and a bridge, and another one goes over 2 level crossings. Now, it's probably not in the game code, but it might be nice for this to be in the future. And that is if vehicles consider level crossings a bad way to go, has some sort of pathing penalty, so they try and go under bridges or over tunnels rather than through the level crossings. I'm beginning to think we might actually start to see a slowdown in the amount of vehicles. All of these towns growing and expanding are making it difficult for some of the AIs to get the railway services in between towns. Not being able to build railway lines means they're not going to be able to have the trains, and they're just not going to be able to put the vehicles out there. Of course, the number of airports per town has a cap as well, although road vehicles seem to do quite well going in and out of anywhere. Here's a pretty good illustration about how things have changed over the years. In the past, all the AI had to do here was come forward, go around this little town that was in the way, pop its station in. But if you wanted to build anything here now, it'd be almost completely impossible. Oh, we have got hints that some of the transport companies are getting back into trouble. I wonder if those drops we saw in the operating profit graph are indicating another round of bankruptcies for a completely different reason. I'm not quite sure what this AI thought it was doing, a particularly long road bridge for no reason. Although as long as the road bridge goes fast enough, this actually isn't a deficit. It'd be bad if it was a rail bridge. It looks like there was an AI here that wanted to put some depots next to their road, but couldn't because there was a railway line. Managed to fix it with a bit of road, but it's quite dangerous if these vehicles actually want to service. Okay, I've just changed my mind. I've seen another AI do exactly the same pattern here. I have no idea what the logic is with having the little depots off the road like that. It's just extra journey for no apparent reason. Why on earth are the AI completely ignoring the oil? Ah, I think I've just figured it out. There you can see oil flashing in the table there. I thought oil paid better than that, but referring to the cargo payment rates, yeah, it's not great. You're better off doing mail, goods, grain, iron ore, valuables. Any of them are better than oil. As the game crawls along at 1.4 times speed, we slip into 1985. We're up to nearly 15,000 vehicles in the game, and we've had more than 650 crashes. And they're not the only things that have gone up. The number of bankruptcies has risen. Just like I predicted, something was happening to some of the profits of the companies. They were starting to dip. I bet the old vehicles, like the steam engines, were starting to have problems. A lot of the trains now are either diesel or electric. We're not seeing many steam engines around anymore, and I think this might have contributed to the changes in the profit for some of the companies. 38 companies have now gone bankrupt, and I think this number's just going to keep going up. We had a period of relative calm, but now the towns and cities are getting really busy and the technology's moving on. Some of the companies are just getting left behind, and some companies just seem to not be able to get their vehicles out onto the road at all. Here we have a depot with a load of buses going absolutely nowhere. Now, earlier on I expressed a fear that it wasn't just the scripts and vehicles that would crash, but my computer at some point. And last night, it did. I came to it in the morning, and whilst the operating system was still running, OpenTTD was gone. Luckily, I'd been saving at regular intervals, and I was able to load the simulation and carry on. But one thing that got reset was the amount of RAM that this simulation was using. It got up to nearly 6 gigabytes, but then started again at 1.8. Now in 1985, we're back up to 3.3 gigabytes. I wonder how much that RAM will climb up again before the end of the simulation. That is, if the game doesn't crash again. There must be a lot of old vehicles on this map. There are so many broken down in the cities, it's unbelievable. This one here has had 3 breakdowns since its last maintenance. This one, 17! Some of these vehicles are obviously doing very, very bad. They probably need refreshing with newer versions. One of the things I'm not really seeing much of now is new complete railway lines. We've got some examples here of spaghetti track getting round and into stations wherever they need to be. But there's also a lot of examples of stations that got placed and then never got connected up. I think the AI has been trying to build new railways, but it's just so busy. With various different bits of track, cities and infrastructure in the way, it's getting more and more difficult for any of them to figure out where to go. Some of the centre of cities are very different to normal games. They comprise of airports and a whole load of HQs. We've got loads and loads of the bus depots and loads of bus stations. If you were to remove everything here that was a depot or a station or an airport or an HQ, there'd be practically no buildings around here at all. And that's not unique. Here's another city in a similar sort of situation. Again, another. This is in most places. While a lot of towns have quite a lot of traffic, I'm actually quite surprised at the lack of traffic out in the countryside. I think it's because there's a lot of different roads out there, providing different options for vehicles to travel on. That means they're nicely spread out and not causing each other too many problems. At least just yet. Having a look at the operating profit, we can see that we've got 3 key companies doing quite well. but because of the number of AIs, it's quite difficult to say which companies they are. I'll have a closer look at the end to try and work out who the winners are. And with so many towns and cities growing to relatively big sizes, it's no surprise that the world population has passed 5 million now. The crash notifications are coming in thick and fast. Here we have a road vehicle being annihilated by a train, and then if we just get rid of that, we find that there's another one further somewhere else on the map, also getting done by a train, and there's the culprit still running away from the scene of the disaster. Dismissing that notification gives us another one, and I wonder, dismissing that one gives us another one. They're coming in thick and fast. It is quite cool to see. It's something different and something relatively unique. You don't normally see this many different stations and these many different vehicles around just one industry in a game of OpenTTD. You wouldn't want to compete like this, and in fact some servers just don't allow you to compete with primary industries anyway. I was just about to say, here's an AI trying the same thing 3 times, but it turns out this is actually 2 different companies. I don't know if something tried one and then another one jumped in, but you can see that there's a few doing the similar sort of thing. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 different companies trying to get one line in, and it looks like only one of them really managed to figure it out. It happened! It finally happened! One of the AIs decided to do something about the abundance of oil on the map. Now, how many have done that? Well, I don't know. There's another one there. Okay, so a couple as another script crashes. Let's see. Oh, none of these have been serviced though. Okay, so that might have been a relatively rare instance of them being serviced. It doesn't look like there's any around here, although there are a lot of passenger ferries now going through this. Whoa, yeah, there are loads in here. In fact, we are up to 17,245 vehicles in the game. That's a considerable amount, and that slowed the game speed down to 1.1 times speed. Even in full-blown fast forward, we're nearly running normal speed. Just also notice this. A dock with one tiny piece of canal. Look how far away this is from a body of water. I'm not quite sure what the AI was planning on doing, but there's nothing really here and only a couple bits round there. This is a little bit optimistic at best. And it's things like this is why some companies are probably not doing very well, and 42 of the AIs have now gone bankrupt. I would say that most of the world now is cities and infrastructure. It's an estimation, but I think we've gone past that point. There are parts of the map that are quite quiet, a few small towns that haven't been touched by any of the AIs, and other sections that are absolutely flooded. Just look at this collection of towns and cities over here. This is an absolute hive of activity. We do have 3 companies that are doing much better than anyone else. Most of the other companies there are down around the 1 million per period in profit, and the one at the top, that's over 6.5 million. A very big difference indeed. Some of the ones down there do seem to be trying to pull away from the pack, so we'll have to see in the last 10 years whether any more come to join those top 3. Having a look back at the AI scripts which failed over the years, I can see there's a bit of a theme. Some of them are having problems with indexes, and some of them are failing with some null errors and so forth. But I would say a good portion of them, maybe half to 1/3, are having a similar issue to this one here. They're trying to build a route, but can't really do it, because either they can't find a path, or there's already stuff there in their way, and they've just given up. It is really nice to see the whole world knitting together in various different ways. Some of the lines don't make sense, and some of them do, but it's really cool to see how the AIs have managed to get in and around the cities, and of course around each other. Some successfully, obviously some not so much. Some of the AIs have made some fantastic tracks and railway. Some of them haven't. Here we've got an old steam train. It's broken down 2 times since its last maintenance already, and must have a really low reliability to begin with because it's currently at 0. Although you would have thought it would have had a service, because we've got 2 depots here that are right on the line. Also on one of their lines are 3 depots. Some of them just seem to add depots left, right and centre in the hope it's going to resolve the problem, and quite clearly it hasn't. We are now starting to see countryside traffic starting to build up. Big queues in various different places, and also a large amount of depot spam, of course. Little tailbacks like this are all over the place, and I definitely wouldn't want to be a customer stuck on one of those buses. Oh yes, the traffic jams are really starting to jam up quite nicely all over the world. Looks like there was a modification done here recently. I'm not sure if that's an old line getting removed or an AI trying to make a new line, but if it is trying to make a new line, it's backtracking. Do you get it? Backtrack? As we hit 1995, we come in for our penultimate look at what's going on in the world. Some parts of the world are more city than anything else, and surprisingly enough, a large amount of the ones that have been doing ships have survived. But not all of them have survived. We're now up to 48 bankruptcies. The game speed is running at 1 time speed now, even on fast forward. And the RAM is back up to 4.6 gigabytes. What's causing that? Well, it could be the 19,000 vehicles in the game. And at this point, even the smaller towns are starting to get some attention. It is very difficult to find any town that's got nothing in it at all. But every now and then it is possible. And actually we've hit an important milestone in this simulation. We have now gone past 1,000 vehicle crashes, and we haven't even had 50 years. Whilst a lot of those crashes will have come from aircraft, you can see that the world map shows a large amount of infrastructure crossing over each other. All of those railway lines going over roads means we're getting a lot of road vehicles getting annihilated by trains as well. As the world gets more and more populated, the AIs get into more ridiculous lengths to be able to make its routes. Here we've got probably one of the longest wooden bridges I've seen in the game, and a pretty long railway bridge as well. As a general rule, railway bridges are a bad idea because you can't put signals on them. But here, there's sometimes just no other option, no other way round. The AI has to go across the water to be able to make the trip. And of course, we have more significant queues of vehicles in the cities and out across some of the country roads as well. Most of that, of course, is caused by the breakdowns of these old vehicles. Not many of the AIs seem to want to replace them for newer models. And whilst not every oil rig is now being serviced, most of them are. I would say around half have got at least some sort of ship infrastructure at them. The amount of vehicle crashes aren't really surprising. With the amount of level crossings that some of these AIs are forcing vehicles to go across, it's not surprising we have so many deaths. But I think that's enough of stagnating traffic congestion and crashes. Let's go to the year 2000 and see the final results. So here we go, the year 2000. And it's getting more and more difficult to run this simulation. And I think this is going to be a good point to leave it and round up all of the scores. In total, there were a massive 21,417 vehicles on this map. And there were 1,357 vehicles crashed on this game. It wasn't just the vehicles who crashed. A load of the AI scripts crashed too. We can see in the debug screen, there were quite a few of them. And even out of those who didn't crash, 79 companies went bankrupt over the course of those 50 years. This might look like it's running a little slow, a little framey, and it is. The game slowed down to just 60% of normal speed and is now using nearly 5 gigabytes of RAM again, even after the midway reset. And the world map shows how many companies and bits of infrastructure there really was all over this world. I think this world was just about the right size. Lots of overlapping infrastructure, but still a little bit of room to grow. Well, we actually ended up with 4 key companies above the pack. Let's see if we can find out who they are. So I've painstakingly gone through the companies and managed to find our winners. In 4th place was the AAA Hog EX, number 2. This one mostly had road vehicles and got a company value of 116 million, and did so with only 6 airports. And then I'm going to call the next 2 joint second, because it's close enough. We have 2 more instances of the AAA Hog EX, number 3 and number 4. One of them getting 372 million and another one with 206 million in company value. Again, lots of train stations, loads of road vehicles, and a few airports. Not many. But the winner, by far, and I'm sure most of you have guessed this. Actually, no, I don't think you have. It wasn't the AA Hog. It was the AI, completely obliterating the rest of the competition. This completely surprised me. Over the recent battles, the Hog AIs managed to come out completely on top in pretty much everything it's been thrown at. But here, by far, the AI thrived. I feel like we need to have a closer look at this AI and maybe pit it against the Hog. Tell you what, if this video gets over 500 likes, we'll do a dedicated one putting the 2 head to head. So there we have it. After only 50 years, we have a world covered in AIs. Some of them failed to even start, and others dominated the charts. So many vehicle crashes came through the world, and there were lots of bankruptcies. This game could technically continue, but we're probably not going to see much more as it slowly grinds itself to a halt. So we're going to leave the madness there for now. Thank you very much for watching. Leave all your thoughts, ideas and questions down in the comment section, and I will see you soon. Take care, and for now, goodbye.